Coming up next is kind of our hallmark match of the night as both CJ and his duo laners compete instead of with each other, against each other for the first time on air. It's going to be Space versus Madlife. A big battle for sure. My name is Reed Rapid Melton. Joining me is Seth Achilleos King. We're getting into, like I said, one of the most exciting matchups of the evening. Madlife versus Space. Champion, picks, and bans both locked in for what is going to make an interesting matchup with champions we haven't seen yet. It does look like a lock-in there on Xin Zhao for Madlife, but it's actually Space who's playing Thresh, and I actually think that's backwards. I think it's actually Space who was playing... No, it was actually Space that was playing Thresh there, so I would have actually expected to see that the other way around, and unless they have the overlay wrong for us, we should be seeing that Thresh on Space instead of Madlife. Unless I can get some confirmation on that, but it'll be interesting to see once we get into the game whether or not this is true. So let's go ahead, and I think we should be loading into the game here in just a second. Do apologize, I think I had some mic muting issues a little bit earlier, but do want to welcome my co-caster Achilleos. Which way are you going on the Space versus Madlife issue? Just kidding, we're gonna get in the game and I'll ask you then. And now I want to welcome you back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Solo King Korean 1v1 tournament coming your way here, of course, on Azubu TV. My name is Rapid, with me is Achilleos, and we're into game number one for what could be the most exciting best of three of this entire tournament. It's Madlife versus Space, and in a somewhat twist of irony, it is actually Space who is playing Thresh versus Madlife, who is going to be playing Xin Zhao into it.
Yeah, just interesting choice. I think it's, you know, a little bit of a cheeky play.
Oh, and you know what? Look at that vote from InVen. It's a 69% vote in favor of Madlife over Space. Not a lot of Space love, and you know, honestly, there's the I think the English casters have kind of coined the term Space Prison for the discrepancy between Madlife and Space, where, you know, it was actually a lot of people that considered Madlife a very strong support player who was kind of stuck playing with Space, who for a long time was a very subpar AD carry. But this season of Champions, Space has been doing some incredible things. He and Madlife have taken CJ Entis into a tie for second place. And at least coming in tonight, Madlife versus Space, now they get to play against each other instead of with each other. Be exciting to see what they bring out.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting, particularly, like you said, we do have the Thresh being brought out, but not by the namesake player. So we'll have to see if Space is able to make some Madlife plays on that Thresh. As you can see so far, it's really working against each other, just running in and just auto-attacking mindlessly. So far, nothing too crazy happening. We do have a Doran shield start coming out for Madlife. Very smart pickup. Is going to help mitigate a lot of that auto attack damage that he's going to be taking from Space. Space, on the other hand, going full aggressive with the Doran's blade. Also resting on that exhaust with the ignite, and this is why Madlife going in, trying to get some damage off. But wow, Space just firing right back with the autos.
Now this is actually kind of confusing for me, because when you're playing an all-in based champion, you want to make sure that your all-in, which is the way that you're going to win the game, is as strong as possible. Which is why when you look at Madlife, he's actually gone for a Doran shield and barrier. And that's a little bit interesting. Traditionally, you'd expect him to, you know, start with maybe a long sword and then build that into a brutalizer later on, or just go for Doran's blades and stack those up and bring Flash Ignite. But instead, he's bought a defensive item with a defensive summoner spell on a champion that he's going to win the game by killing the other guy. Now, another interesting thing to note is that you know, Space has gone for a Doran's Blade, so this may be a little bit more of you know, a close to home as far as a champion choice in building him a little bit more like an AD carry.
Well, we'll have to see. Madlife might just want to go with, you know, item builds to really secure himself the victory here. He wants to last out until he can get something a bit more aggressive, maybe a brutalizer perhaps. Who knows where he really wants to go with this build as he gets to his first back. But I feel like he's going to be relying much more heavily on that rather than his initial item. So for now, he's just trying to sustain and live through the onslaught that is Space's auto attacks with this very aggressive Thresh play. We'll have to see what happens. That exhaust very much a significant counter to Madlife's all-in, and that could turn the game.
And look at the skill distribution here. We've actually seen 2 points put into the Dark Passage. Yeah. There for Space, so he's not going to be like pulling in a jungler, but going in. There's actually the barrier here. Barrier, actually kind of pseudo barrier there from Space with his, you know, just throwing down his lantern. So he got almost as much of a shield there. Now, Madlife, what is he doing?
Oh, this is really risky. Space doesn't have any mana. Madlife does.
Oh my God, Madlife! Madlife! There can be no victory without the blessing of God, and there can be no God. But Madlife, oh my God, going in there for the aggression. And you're right, Space didn't have anything up. He was so close to his turret, but Madlife catching him off guard with all that aggression comes out with a win in game number 1.
And this, I mean, this could really come down to Madlife knowing that character inside and out, through and through. He says, you want to try to beat me on my champion, it's not gonna happen. I know what you're capable of, and I know that I can beat you right now. So he just turns on, goes right in, and just gets himself the first win in this best of 3. So Madlife now 1-0 over Space.
Very important realization that Space was actually completely out of mana. If he had gotten like flayed away from him underneath the turret, or you know, you flay him out of that audacious charge in, there's so many ways that with mana, with skill usage, you could outplay that. But unfortunately, Space just mismanaging things a little bit. He had that lane won after so much early harassment, but with Madlife able to flash out after he lost the 1v1 initially and then come back in to win it, just impeccable play there. Game number 1 going to Madlife. Now, game 2 will be coming up here in just a second, and I don't know. I didn't expect to see a 2-0 in this matchup. I thought it was going to be a lot more even, and specifically with Space playing Thresh versus Madlife, that's the most surprising situation to me, because you'd expect to see that the other way around.
Absolutely, and I feel like losing so convincingly on it, we might not see Space wanting to revisit that Thresh, and instead we might see him banning it out against his teammate. As we can see, first ban coming out, Nami. AP Nami, very deadly in 1v1s. Lots of sustain and lots of range.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call AP Nami deadly too much. I think you just pick a champion with a gap closer and she kind of dies a lot. But you know, there's that room for outplay if you land bubbles or crazy things like that. And of course, Space kind of going back with the bans that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Garen, first champion, or at least one of the first few champions in the Korean client to ban. Just kind of throwing it out there as a little bit of interesting ban phase. And of course for Madlife too, Udyr and Sejuani. I'm not sure exactly why they are banning these champions, but suffice it to say they are not champions that you should expect to see too often in 1v1s.
Yeah, the Yorick does make sense. He is pretty consistently, I would say, in just most 1v1 situations. Somebody that you take away, has a lot of harass. Also has a lot of sustain with his ghosts.
Yeah, the problem with Yorick is that his ghosts actually count as CS.
CS, this is true.
So you get an incredible amount of CS very, very quickly, and there's no possible way that you can win the game as long as the guy just focuses your ghouls down. If he has any like area of effect spells, your ghouls tend to give him too much CS to win the game, unless you just kill him. So a little bit difficult there. So we're gonna see what Space goes for. Are we going to see another Alistar versus Support Champion matchup? Does he pick Blitzcrank versus Madlife? Now that's the true BM. When you pick
Can
Blitzcrank,
we get a Blitz versus Thresh?
oh my god, don't do it to me. Space, he's thinking about it. He's gonna settle with a Blitzcrank.
Oh man, this just got real. This is
oh my
the
god,
new hype match.
This is where Madlife just picks the most OP 1v1 champion and just smashes Space in the face.
Well, there's so much on the board right now, just because of these unorthodox bans that we have going. Madlife could play almost just about anything in this matchup. And my fingers are really, really crossed because I want to see that Thresh come out.
Yeah, I want to see Thresh versus Blitzcrank, Madlife versus Space. And you got to know that these two guys have played not only with each other, but against each other like so often. They have put in so many hours into learning how to lane as a duo. Now they have to lane against each other, and it's going to be really exciting to see what they decide on. Now, you know, Madlife hovering over the Nivea. Not sure if he's going to lock that one in. Space going with the BM in both games. He picked Madlife's champions against him. Both hook-based champions. Thresh in game 1 almost actually won that matchup out, but with a Blitzcrank picked here in game number 2, Madlife knows how to play both of those champions very, very well. We'll see if he knows how to play against them just as well.
Yeah, the Anivia is an interesting choice. The egg, very nice, you know, to live a bit longer in this 1v1, not give up that first blood, but has to be careful about getting grabbed underneath of the turret of Space. If he gets grabbed even with an egg, Space has enough lockdown, particularly at the level 6, when he has that ultimate and can silence. He's got enough lockdown to keep Madlife underneath the turret, and those turret shots will rip right through Agnivia. So going to be interesting to see how Madlife wants to play this one, whether he wants to just really kind of sit back and farm, or if he wants to be pushing against Space at his turret.
I was just recently informed, thanks to Soccer in chat, that the bans from Space actually spell "get out" in Korean. So a little bit of humor here coming out, and I don't think that Space was really going to be too concerned what Madlife picked anyway, because he was still going to pick Blitzcrank no matter what, picking both of Madlife's champions here, and that's I don't know what to say about this. This is going to be a crazy 1v1 series. Game 1 going to Madlife off of his Xin Xiao pick, and coming in here to game number 2, let's check out the runes and masteries for both players. Starting off with Space and his Blitzcrank build. He's got 7% attack speed, 11 AD, 40 HP, and just a smattering of all kinds of random stats in there. As far as the masteries go, he's got points in spell weaving and blade weaving, but unfortunately he also has that 1 point in dangerous game. Dangerous game will save your life in a lot of situations, but you have to get a kill in order for it to kick in, and if you get a kill you already won the game, so not a whole lot of points in putting that point in that mastery.
That doesn't proc prior to the rebirth, does it?
No, you only get that kill once you get gold from
Yeah.
killing a champion, so.
Gotcha. Okay, I wasn't sure if there was maybe some kind of little stipulation, maybe a
No.
workaround that he saw through that we didn't, but
Nope, it just doesn't work. So,
I guess it's just an oversight.
yeah, masteries here for Madlife. Pretty standard ability power rune page setup. Nothing out of the ordinary there. But what is going to be out of the ordinary is not only our first Anivia of the Solo King, but we also have, of course, Space playing our, I believe this is the first Blitzcrank.
Yeah, I don't think we've had one. in the
Yeah,
tournament thus
unless
far.
my memory is just completely failing, because I have cast all these games, I don't believe we've seen a Blitzcrank
Well,
quite
his
yet.
first time for everything. We did have that Urgot yesterday. We had Derek Alistar twice. Inverted matchups today already, so all bets are off. Anything can happen. Now, this here is a series that I want to see go to a third match, because think of the potential of a double blind pick.
You kind of have Blitzcrank versus Blitzcrank, and then they just pull each other into each other, and it's like a hug.
Switch spots.
And it's almost
It's an Urgot ultimate. You just switch spaces.
Oh my gosh. Well, it is almost Valentine's Day, so maybe sharing the love a little bit. Space with no love for Madlife, picking both of his champions in both of these games. It is going to be incredible to watch game number 2, and we will have that coming up in just a minute. So don't go anywhere. We'll be having game 2, Madlife versus Space, coming up here in just a second. Once again, this is the Solo King 1v1 tournament broadcast here on Azubu TV. Don't go anywhere. We're coming in with game number 2. Stick around. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Solo King, a 1v1 tournament, of course, broadcast here on Azubu TV, featuring some of your favorite Korean pro players. It's a kind of a team kill here between CJ Entis' duo lane. They've learned how to play together. Can they play against each other? And I think the answer is yes. With game 1, Space kind of getting narrowly outplayed by Madlife's Xinjiao. Madlife coming into game 2 with a 1-0 victory. And Space not only spelling get out with his bans and champion select, but picking a Blitzcrank versus... Oh, he walled the hook up. Wait, what? Does that even work?
This is news to me as well.
Okay. A Nivea
wall.
No, a Nivea wall is coded as minions, and so when Blitzcrank hooks through the wall, I'm guessing that the hook actually registers as if it's grabbing the minions, because unless I'm misseeing things, Madlife was definitely in pull range there. Okay, I don't know what I'm watching right here, but we've got some next level Madlife plays coming out, starting with Crystallize, probably the worst spell to start with on a Nivea. But then again, I don't know what to expect from this. Already shaping up to be an incredible best of 3.
Yeah, really interesting decision coming in. Like you said, picking up Crystallize is going to take away from a lot of his early pressure and damage that he would otherwise be able to put out onto Space. Not going to have that Flash Frost or the Frost Bite. So no stuns coming in here for Madlife just yet. But as we take a look at the items, back to the crystalline flasks here. Potions coming out for both, and of course, Flash Teleport for Madlife. Meanwhile, the extra aggressive Flash Ignite coming out for Space. He wants to get a grab in onto Madlife, knock him up into the air, and just take the series right there. We'll see if he's able to do it, though.
Okay, now grab once again canceled out by that wall. Another option besides it grabbing the minions that the wall is coded as is that when you actually throw out the Crystallize, you can actually use it on your allies to stop them from backing. So if you ever see an ally like in a recall animation, you put the Crystallize and it moves them just a little bit. So what I think Madlife is actually doing there is that when he gets grabbed by the Blitzcrank hook, because I actually saw the little stun icon above his head, when he gets grabbed by the Blitzcrank hook, he actually puts out the Crystallize on himself and it moves him and cancels out the move command from the Blitzcrank pull coming back. So some hashtag science here. Definitely a did you know that I did not know. So learning new things every day only teaches you exactly how much you can learn from Madlife about Blitzcrank even when he's playing against it.
And who better to learn from than the support god himself? Really interesting tricks coming out from him here. Already just a few minutes into this game. We might even have another game in this series, so I'm looking forward to learning even more from the man, the myth, the legend.
The Madlife. And as far as Space is concerned, he actually had the advantage for at least the majority of game 1 until Madlife kind of pulled it out in the end. Of course, quite literally. But now, oh, another wall there Once again, not sure if that's actually canceling out the Blitzcrank hook or how exactly that works, but a dodge nonetheless, and Madlife stays safe. For now, he's actually dropping down in CS, and traditionally, you'd expect him to actually get a little bit ahead on CS. Anivia great at wave clear, but that does primarily come out at level 6. Not quite this early. And with a standard rune page set up as far as AP is concerned for Madlife's Anivia, I was actually kind of interested to see Space go for a more attack damage focus on his page, looking for some big power fists in there, even though he hasn't hit any of them quite yet.
And still just unable to get a reliable rocket grab because of that crystallized. Nice harass though, coming up from Madlife, finally showing some aggressive play. Gets that flash frost and the frostbite off, taking Space down to around half HP, but he's gonna go ahead and just regen that right back up. Now this is where Madlife has to play very carefully. He does not want to get grabbed underneath of this turret and knocked in the air. If he gets power fisted up, that could be the entire game.
There's the grab. There's the power fist. He's underneath the turret. He's gonna get egged. Oh my god. What's that?
Wow.
One little bit of HP. But can Space kill this egg off in time? I don't think he can. If Madlife will revive here, he's gonna get knocked up. A couple more auto attacks to come in here. Space needs one more to close out the kill versus Madlife. Just in time. Madlife just barely surviving. Forced back to base.
Incredible save by Madlife, holding on by a thread. Really excellent flash frost. Immediately reactivation on that to get the stun out. But he does not have the egg now. As we see, he was already playing very far forward up against Space's tower. He's not going to be able to do that for a while now. The flash was burned. He had to use the TP to get back into lane. So he is out of a lot of utility. Not yet level 6, so he doesn't have the Glacial Storm. He's going to have to really rely on just not shoving the tower and getting harassed off with this Flash Frost and Frostbite combo.
Now, interesting to see Madlife going for a Tear of the Goddess buy. That means as far as his items are concerned, he has 0 ability power from items themselves. Not necessarily a situation you want to find yourself in when you're in a 1v1 setting, but I think he's just looking for a build that's going to let him stay in lane for a very, very long time. Of course, the Tear of the Goddess, an item that you see on a lot of Anivias. Also, another big thing that big advantage that he's going to have over Space is the ability to, like we just saw him, teleport back into lane. Whereas Space will have Flash Ignite for the aggressive all-ins, he will not be able to make it back to lane quite as quickly as Madlife.
Yeah, with that Tear of the Goddess, though, this is really going to help out Madlife in his farm game, and that might be what he wants to focus on a little bit now that he can use his Glacial Storm. The Tear of the Goddess going to be able to get him that extra mana and the sustain, so he's going to be able to AoE farm a bit better.
Oh my god, again! How does he do it every time? Madlife blocks the Blitzcrank hook with Crystallize. Not only did I not know that actually worked that way, but the ability to pull that off consistently, you have to ask yourself, like, does Madlife practice these things? You have to guess yes, but it's just incredible to watch the master at work, able to cancel out almost every single one of Space's Blitzcrank hooks.
Yeah, I mean, and that just comes down to both his familiarity with the character himself, and then also just a familiarity of what he can't do with these characters. He knows exactly what Blitzcrank is and is not capable of, so he says, you know what, I've been in a situation before where I couldn't grab that Anivia because of Crystallize, so I know exactly how to block it because it's happened to me so many times before, perhaps. You know, that could be the situation, but he is just really showing his masterful knowledge of these characters. You know, both Thresh and Blitzcrank already.
I wonder
even Anivia. He's doing a great job on Anivia thus far.
That's a good point. I wonder if Madlife was like playing solo queue and he played against an Anivia player who used to do that to him. And then he, you know, of course, learned his lesson and is now doing it to Space's Madlife for a little bit of revenge. Now, ultimate used there by Space. It'll be up in not all that long, and to be honest, I actually misread the rune setup for Space. He's actually going ability power based build there on Blitzcrank, so when he pulls you in, he's going to be able to knock you up and then do a ton of damage with that static field ultimate. So definitely something to keep an eye on. If he doesn't grab you under turret and let the turret kill you, like almost happened earlier on, he's going in again, does have that grab up. Going in for a big ultimate, will land the grab, just a second late on it, and it's gonna be Space that takes game number 2. The Crystallized just a second late, a fraction of a second late. We're gonna get an instant replay up here. Walking forward, lands the static field for the damage, and unable to dodge that hook. The Crystallized just a brief moment too late. Ignite coming down, the last auto attack, and Space takes game number 2 versus Madlife.
Wow, what a great play by Space. Aggressing at the right time, gets that Ignite back up. Knows that Madlife did not have the Rebirth up yet. Gets that grab in, lays down the combo, and pulls himself in a victory. So here we are, a 1-1 in this match. That means that we go to a third round, and this is going to be blind pick this time coming in for Madlife in Space. This is going to be where it starts getting crazy.
That's right, Achilles. Just like in Game 5s, if you've ever watched Champions, games, for the Solo King, when you get to game number 3, it is blind pick. That means there's no ban phase, and neither player can actually see the champion that their opponent is picking. It's going to be incredibly exciting because now you get the opportunity to see players either play champions that are maybe a little bit off meta, looking for a specific counter, or we might actually see them both pick the same champions. We've seen Lee Sin versus Lee Sin earlier. I believe we've seen Alistar versus Alistar in the first round of the tournament. But coming out tonight, it's going to be incredible because we've already seen Space's preoccupation with picking Madlife's own hook-based champions against him. Now we set up for the opportunity to watch a Blitzcrank 1v1 between Space and Madlife. For, I don't know, finally punching Madlife's ticket out of Space Prison. We'll see when we get into game number 3 coming up on your screen right now. Madlife versus Space, tied up at 1-1. What's it gonna be?
Well, so far, interesting hover for Space. I don't believe that we've seen a Shen. Alright, now he's flipping off of that one, maybe going to the Lee Sin. The Zed as well, two very mechanically challenging champions, but double Lee Sin, we might actually see this come out yet again.
Oh my god, the blindest of blind picks coming out here for your last game of this best of 3 matchup. Of course they might actually just troll each other and switch at the last second to where they, they actually pick, I don't want to say good champions, but more standard 1v1 meta picks. Although thinking about the Lee Sin 1v1 would be absolutely incredible. What a way to end a best of 3 between CJ and his duo lane.
Alright, clearly there's some intercommunication going on here. They're syncing up these picks between each other.
Well, I mean, they sit right next to each other in the house, so
it's hard to not screen watch your opponent when they're right next to you.
Yeah, and it's important to recognize these players are all in the same house. We had Ambition play a little bit earlier, and we're gonna see Coco play for our matchup after this game. So it's going to be a Dr. Mundo versus Dr. Mundo. Who picks Dr. Mundos for 1v1s?
Well, apparently Space and Madlife.
Apparently. So this is going to be our last game in this best of 3. It's coming down to the wire. And to decide which player will advance to the finals to escape this this bracket, it is going to be a 1v1 Dr. Mundo pick. So I don't know what else to say, but good luck there. It'll be interesting to see the runes and masteries that these guys go, because we've already seen 21 defense specs a little bit earlier on in this tournament. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit earlier on we had I want to say it was Wolf, who played a very unique sort of tank Scion strategy that just made him unkillable. He got 100 CS and won the matchup there. So be interesting to see if they want to go for a 21 defense, very tank heavy build, or maybe they just build heavy magic penetration and go for those cleaver stacking. Wait, what? No! You're kidding me.
Are
they really playing without runes and masteries? They're playing without runes and masteries. Are you kidding me?
That is magnificent.
No
Madlife in space.
Dr. Mundo versus Dr. Mundo.
Here.
No runes, no masteries, just space versus Madlife.
For a second, I thought Piglet was back in Korea.
Nope. I'm not sure it would have taken, you know, some sort of miracle for them to magically lose their runes and masteries, but this is probably the most interesting 1v1 I've ever seen. You can definitely tell the relationship between Space and Madlife. They've got a lot going on, and to see Madlife, you know, trolling him with those hook champions early on, and now I thought it was going to be Lee Sin 1v1. It's Dr. Mundo, and there's no runes, no masteries, just action here. This is the Solo King. Make sure to, if you have friends on the planet Earth, tell them about this match. Hashtag the Solo King on Twitter. Tweet at AzubuTV. Let them know. And of course, if you want to follow all the matches for the Solo King, maybe see the winner of this matchup a little bit later on in the tournament, make sure to hit that follow button right down below the screen. It'll let you know whenever we come back with live action here on the Solo King tournament. But it just doesn't get a whole lot much better than this. 1v1, game number 3, blind pick between Space and Madlife will be coming up next, so you do not want to miss it. And you know, if you're a good friend, if you're a good like child, you want to call up your parents, be like, Space, Madlife, it's happening right now on AzubuTV. Stick around, we'll be right back with game number 3. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Solo King 1v1 tournament here broadcast on AzubuTV. My name is Rapid, with me is Achilleos, and we're getting into the deciding game number 3. No runes, no masteries, just Dr. Mundos. Teleporting into lane. Some next level strategies between Space and Madlife. They're going at it. They're running at each other. Nothing but wards placed out there. No items either. They're gonna line up and play dodgeball with Dr. Mundo cleavers, 1 versus 1.
I'm not even sure what to say about this. As you can see, Madlife getting chunked down by the infected cleavers from Space. Just trading back and forth over this wall of wards.
My shoutcasting consists of nothing but laughing at what is the most... Okay, so...
Heal burned by Madlife, but...
What am I watching right now? Oh, Madlife does dodge a cleaver there, so, another summoner heal. A little bit of extra movement speed there for Space, so he's getting a little bit more value out of that. One more cleaver is all it's going to take to kill Madlife here. He's actually costing himself health every time he throws one out. Space has 1 cleaver left to land. Madlife is going to kill himself with these cleavers. The last one lands from Space. And Space will take Madlife out of the Solo King tournament. We're going to see this one last cleaver for Madlife. Gonna miss there, but Madlife almost killing himself there with that cleaver usage. Oh my goodness. Space with the ace versus Madlife. It will be CJ and his Space advancing to the next round of the Solo King. Madlife eliminated by his AD carry.